Iburu, Iboya, Ebuche, to everybody in Cyberland. Jaffe Bawalao. At least I hope so. Omo doing dileke. Hey, today's a special day, September 24th. What does that mean to you? What does that mean to me? Okay? What it means is we are in the presence of another feast day. And something I want to kind of make sure that I explain to everybody as far as when we're talking about a feast day for an Orisha, we're talking about an opportunity to honor. And how we honor and the process of honoring is no different than a lot of times when we got to do an obra or an adimu, we have to give some form of offering. We ask for several things. We ask for love, success, blessings, health, prosperity, because those are the main foundations. Those are the main, the building blocks of our ire, of our fortunate life, all the good. Now, specifically, when we do this for every feast day, the biggest thing that I want you guys to focus on is who is the Orisha that we are honoring. In this case, we're trying to honor Obatala. Obatala on September 24th. If you don't do it today because it's the middle of the week and you have more time to do it in the weekend, that's okay. I don't want people to be so stuck and to where they box themselves in that they have to do it now and it has to be rushed and they're not doing it from their heart and they're not meditating on this. I need you to understand who Obatala is. And when we say who Obatala is, we understand that he is not only referred to as the oldest of the Orishas that came to the earth. So he was the first. And then we also talk about not necessarily that he was the first, but he was the one that was somewhat given the responsibility by Olodumare to govern and create human beings, right? Because there's a lot of different stories and a lot of different aspects of the philosophy. So what I want to focus in is who's Obatala. So Obatala is a very old, and when I say old, first one to touch the earth, one of the first few to touch the earth first, and also responsible for building the human bodies based on God's will. We also talk about Obatala as being the man of the white cloth because Obatala is a very patient person. But Obatala has a lot of avatars, and you will learn that in Obatala there's that moment when enough is enough, or that moment when patience needs to react and patience needs to be a little bit more aggressive. So Obatala understands that in mankind, in a physical essence of the world, sometimes patience needs to change the role, and humbling yourself is very important, but sometimes there needs to be an aggressive stance, if that makes sense. Obatala is an Orisha that you want to handle with care. So when we say he's an Orisha of Fung Fung, he's an Orisha of white, right? And that is the color that represents Obatala. In a lot of patakis, you hear about Obatala, you hear him as a father figure, the father of the Orishas. You'll hear that sometimes, which is not necessarily an accurate statement because the father of the Orishas are many. There's Orishas that never touch the earth. There's Orishas that live in the universe. So we talk about more of the terrain of the earth. We talk about, okay, he can be the father of the Orishas that came to earth, because he was one of the very first to come in here, and he became kind of a governing factor. All right, but we don't want to take away some of the governing factors that come from Olofi. So we got to be very careful that we don't mix the two per se. So when we talk about Obatala, some of the things that need to be represented for his feast day is going to be one, a candle. A white candle is to light your way to the Eguns, all the avatars that have lived the path of Obatala, and for you to identify yourself and the entity that you're lighting up. A candle is very important. You have to have a candle. All right. You also need to have things that are fung fung, things that are white. All right. Some And when I'm talking about that, I'm talking about the adimu aspect, the fruits and the vegetables. We talk about bananas, right? You talk about pears. You talk about juca. Shave the juca off, you got white. But you want to stick to those things. And you want to try to get maybe 4 of those particular fruits or vegetables that are white. And that's what you want to use to kind of give to Obatala on his feast day. Other things that can be given: champagne, milk, goat milk particularly is where you want to focus on when you're talking about Obatala. Alright, you want to make Obatala a white cake, you want to throw coconut in there. You notice these are all things of white. Alright, it's very important that if you're going to do something with Obatala, you're going to put it down in a terra, and you're going to lay the things out in your house maybe. But when you give something for Obatala, some of the big tips there are going to be, it's important to maybe go on a hill. Find a hill, find a tall tree in the woods, so that way you can get as close to Obatala as possible within his elements. Because like I said before, all the Orishas have elements, all the Orishas have characteristics, and we want to make sure that you take them, their adimu, or you want to represent their adimu, and you want to put things down for them so you can harness that energy, you can meditate, and at the same token, you are asking for all the good stuff. Alright, you're asking for all the good stuff. And like I've said in many videos before, this is not the opportunity to ask for nothing bad, and you shouldn't ever ask for anything bad. Ask the Orishas to open up those doors, and particularly Obatala, who gives you tranquility, who gives you patience, who's the person who created the outer layers of the shape of your body. Alright, especially for those who maybe have some physical defects. Alright, pray to Obatala. Okay, because those things are important, because that's what he represents. Maybe you're going through some trials and tribulations in life, and you need that patience and you need that tranquility. So we have adimu, you have vegetables, you got fruit, you got your candle. Alright, you got maybe some champagne, some goat milk, you have some coconut, whatever it is, and you giving it and you're lighting it up. Okay, the moment you light that candle up, and let's say you're in the middle of the woods and you found this tall tree, beautiful spot, or maybe you're doing it in your house and you're laying that tera and you're doing everything from the heart, akukang, and you're doing it from the heart, and you are reaching out to Obatala and you're telling Obatala, hey, please bring everything in, please, I understand who you are, and I'm here to represent you right now and give to you right now, because this is the peace that I'm looking for in my heart. That's great. That's beautiful. Okay. One of the big things that I always want to make sure that you remember is that you have an ori. Okay. Obatala has a lot to do with your head. I want you to take that goat milk. Okay. When you're done offering it, all right, that's Obatala's goat milk, the one you offered. I want you to have another goat milk on the side, and that same goat milk is the one that I want you to use to put over your head. I want you to pour it over your head. I want the goat milk to come down. You don't have to, if you want to go in, you want to do it as a bath after you come out the shower, boom, and then you want to throw the goat milk so you can let that dry. That's a good cleansing. Use the goat milk to refresh your mind, your ori, specifically your head, because it's the day of Obatala, and Obatala has a lot to do with the head, but it also cleanses you of all the osolbo and all the negativity. So with that said, Obatala's feast day today, important milestone. I don't want you rushing through this. If you can prevent the rush, okay, then you do it on the weekend. You do it on the weekend, because you need to take time for yourself and the connection between the energies of Obatala and you. So with that said, I wanted to kind of dedicate this to Obatala, so that way we understand who Obatala is, we understand what we're doing, we understand why we're doing it, because those things are important. So with that said, Iburu, Iboya, Ibuche, Cyberland, always a pleasure.